sit.
Thank you, sir.
You up? Ready to go?
We are good. So are we waiting for that, or we're just good? Oh, we're good. Okay, awesome. Thank you. It's a good communication system. Happy Tuesday in the fantastic city of Manchester, New Hampshire. We're so pleased to be here today with the fantastic mayor, who introduced him as Jay. We represent all of New England, so we meet a lot of governors and mayors, and sometimes they come in with a lot of pomp and circumstance. But this mayor is truly a fantastic individual. It's not a surprise why you are mayor. You seem like you know your constituents and your community very well. My name is Matt Boger. I represent the federally designated organ procurement organization. It is our job each and every day to help save and enhance lives through what I call the miracle of organ and tissue donation. I do want to thank the state in that the vast majority of people who register as organ and tissue donors do so at the DMV here in New Hampshire, the RMV in Massachusetts, or the DMV in all 51 states. Registering as an organ and tissue donor is a voluntary choice. You can say yes, or you don't have to say yes. That being said, it is not a neutral choice. Both the state and federal government provide an opportunity for people to register in a location where the vast majority of the citizens come to, and that's to get your ID, driver's license, or real ID. We are the only public health question presented on such a state document, and we take great pride in doing that. We're here to celebrate life, and we're also here to celebrate time. For those individuals who were donors, and their legacy lives on through someone else. I want to make sure it is clear we don't want anyone to pass away, period. Our motto is donate life, this little gift. Having someone die to save someone else's life is a zero-sum game. That being said, unfortunately, people do pass away. But to have that individual carry on through someone else's joyful life is an amazing thing. I do want to share some, and I do want to recognize the staff of the U.S. Senators, both Sheehan and Hassan, who will say a few words at the end. And Mayor, if you don't mind, I might have you do the proclamation at the end, if that works for you.
Wonderful.
Would be wonderful. But we're here to, and more importantly, we're here to share the stories of people who've been personally touched. I want to call up Brad, who sometimes I tell their story before they get to, has got an amazing thing to share. And Brad, come on up. Appreciate your time. Thank you so much.
So in 2008, because somebody was able to check the box at the DMV, I was able to receive a heart transplant. It's a great gift. I thank my donor every day, knowing that I can live on. There was things that I wasn't sure that I was able to do prior to my transplant when I was very sick. Now I have a 12-year-old son. I'm currently a captain in the Tyngsboro Fire Department in Massachusetts, full-time firefighter. I'm able to run Spartan races, Tough Mudders, and really just live life to the greatest. And the simple choice of just checking that box and checking with your family and making sure that your family knows your well wishes is just a perfect thing to do to pass on your legacy to other people. Thank you so much. Remember to check the box.
So we'll go in order of his great accomplishments. And I have to say, number one is you married a fantastic woman.
I did.
Yes. To a firefighter, which is an amazing thing. And then the things you are able to do after a transplant is amazing. And again, if you saw Brad, you wouldn't realize he went through a fairly significant surgery and has someone else's heart in his body and living on that legacy through there. There are two sides to organ donation, the wonderful gifts of people who continue on, but also the donors and people we call heroes, the individuals whose legacy lives on through someone else. And I'm so excited to share Michelle's story once again. She has been to the State House with us twice, has met with Governor Sununu. I will let her tell her story. Michelle, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate that.
Today is Donor Remembrance Day. And in honor of our son, Dan, we would encourage everyone to register as an organ donor. Please hear my message. On August 4th, 2021, our 39-year-old son went out on his nightly break on his motorized skateboard. Due to unmarked road construction, Dan had an accident and suffered an irreversible traumatic brain injury. He was on life support, and we were told that he would not survive. During our devastating, shocking, and untimely news, we were asked if Dan was an organ donor. Dan had not checked the box to be an organ donor. We had not talked about it at all within our family. This difficult decision was made during our time of grief. It was excruciating to be making this very personal and important decision for someone else. Dan was a loyal and hardworking friend and coworker who loved his job. He was a very proud Army veteran. Dan was a loving and supporting father. Since Dan was a loving, kind, compassionate, and selfless person, we decided that he would want to save the lives of others. On August 8th, 2021, Dan became a hero and changed the lives of 4 organ recipients and their families forever. Dan donated his heart, his liver, and 2 kidneys. In addition, he improved the quality of life for 52 tissue, bone, and cornea recipients. We are so fortunate to have met Dan's heart recipient, Gary Swain from Marblehead, Massachusetts. We met him on Mother's Day, 2022. Gary allowed us to listen to Dan's heart beating in his chest, and Gary said, "It is our heart now. We are a new family." Organ recipients are forever grateful and positive to have a second chance at life. Please, please discuss organ donation with your family before the tragedy happens. Register as an organ donor today by doing one of the following things. Check the box on your driver's license application or renewal form. Access registerme.org or donatelife.net to become an organ donor, or even consider becoming a living donor. There is no age limit to being an organ donor. You can save the lives of others. The organ recipient will be eternally grateful. To the world, you may be one person, but to that one person, you may be the world. Dan lives on in others.
Thank you so much. So Michelle took my agenda, which is fine. Totally good. My memory. No, please.
there it is.
There you go. Thank you. But no, not at all. Please. I was in the back listening to the story, and I've heard it. It is emotional each and every time. I will note that she is wearing a jacket or whatever. I'm not sure what that is, but it says love on it.
Yeah, and it has the birds.
And the birds. And it really is sharing love. I think the very definition of humanity is a selfless act, and registering as an organ donor is one thing you can do. I do want to indicate that the idea of being a hero is not necessarily the act of donating, it's the act of registering to provide that hope to someone. I want to share a little bit of the stats. There's over 103,000 individuals in the United States waiting for a life-saving transplant. In New England, there's over 6,000 people waiting for that call to save their life through transplantation. Organ donation is a regional system that we have fantastic hospitals throughout the area, including New Hampshire. New Hampshire does a great job with their transplant center. New Hampshire does not have a heart program, which is fine. We want doctors to be doing as many of those transplants as possible. It's a regional thing. Our objective is to transplant the sickest amount of individuals. Sadly, 17 people die each day waiting for a transplant. Our objective is to save as many lives as possible, and we work very strongly with the Department of Health in each state, with the governors in each state, with the legislatures in each state, and with the federal government to help educate what organ donation is and how we work with hospitals. We are 315 people strong, New England Donor Services. We are up 24 hours a day, 400 days a year. That is more days than there are in a year. But we have a call center that has gets phone calls from hospitals all the time. Whenever someone passes away in a hospital, they are federally required to contact us, and we assess if they can become an organ donor. Again, organ donation is very, very rare. Only 3% of all deaths happen in a manner where one could theoretically become an organ donor. It's not 3% of all deaths happen to become organ donors. It is extremely rare, and we want to do everything that we can to help celebrate that and to help educate people about that. As the federally designated organ procurement organization, it is our responsibility to address individuals who've passed away. As Michelle said, you can become a living donor. Things like kidneys, you have two. We are outside of that process, and when you register as an organ donor, it's not about living donation. But having the amount of people who need an organ, living donation needs to be part of that process. And of that 103,000 individuals in the United States, 80% are waiting for a kidney. I do want to quickly mention a brand new volunteer who received a heart transplant. And a kidney.
6 weeks ago.
So maybe this is a story. Actually, if you guys come here, I haven't heard your story, so we're going to curate it very quickly. But so this is an individual who received both a heart transplant at age
2 weeks old.
2 weeks old, a heart transplant. And do you mind, I don't need your direct age, but like roughly.
26.
26. So 26 years, 25 years with a heart.
Yes.
And then you were in need of a kidney.
Yes.
And then mom stepped up and became a living kidney donor.
Yeah, 6 weeks ago.
6 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And you look fantastic.
Thank you.
Or not look, I'm sorry, you're
He-
health-wise.
He's great.
Yes.
He's even better.
Well,
You
it
should
is
have seen
wonderful,
him.
and I know you
So-
guys came from Arizona to share this message.
No,
and-
actually, we're living in Boston area.
Okay. Well,
So
you
we
lived in
drove up.
Arizona.
We were in Arizona for
Okay,
years.
cool.
Yeah.
Thank you for sharing the story. So, loved ones who've been personally touched
Appreciate
by it,
donors.
thank you
Yes.
so much. I always feel a little hesitant to ask Michelle to share such a painful story, and she responds to me, it's a great way for me to remember my son and to take an awful event and to make something good out of it. Without a doubt, we'd want him back, but to carry his legacy is wonderful. So thank you. We have another donor family, Katie, who is going to share her story real quickly too. Thank you, Katie. Appreciate that. Yeah, yeah.
Yep, thanks. So, my sister Erin was 42, and 5 years ago she had an accident and a traumatic brain injury. And unfortunately, after surgery, was not able to come back. But thankfully, this was February 2018, in November, so at Thanksgiving, just a few months before, when we went around the dinner table and said what we were thankful for, she said, I'm thankful that I just became an organ donor or signed up to be one. And, you know, life goes on, but a few months later, she was. So to that point, I would say as a family, it was a horrible event, but we were really comforted by the fact that we knew her wishes. She had talked about it, we talked about it, even joked about it, and it was such an amazing experience in the hospital with this team, and that is why I decided to become a volunteer and spread the word. And her organs were donated, her tissue, her bones. They told us that 2/3 of the tissue donation were for breast cancer surgeries afterwards. And we heard that a nurse in Massachusetts got a ligament. She had had a birth defect in her leg from a very young age, and now she was able to raise her kids and work and move freely due to that. And it was really comforting as a family when you lose somebody like that, to really have that live on. So I would just say a brief message to talk to your family and friends about it, okay? It's a great, loving subject. You've made your wishes known. And to go to the registerme.org and put your wishes there if you haven't already done it on your driver's license, and just get the word out, because knowing their memory lives on, as people know, it really just helps that loss just a little bit. So, thank you.
Thank you so much for sharing this story. And again, remembering the legacy of your sister, son, Dano. I forgot that was, I'm seeing this right here.
Yeah.
Is amazing. So we work very closely with the federal government, and HRSA every 5 years puts together a survey with the American public. For the past 20 years, that survey has indicated that over 90% of the American public support organ donation, and if asked, would say yes. That being said, much less individuals. In the United States, about 50% of individuals who have the opportunity to register do so. We're here today to help encourage people to share facts and figures and to encourage people to say yes. Again, organ donation is very rare. You're more likely to need an organ than to become a donor, and we want to provide that hope by getting that heart on your license. Each time you go to the DMV, you have to re-register. I've run into several people who are like, oh, I'm already registered, and they thought that that one time they registered means they continue on. Each time you go to the DMV, you have to say yes. I'm so pleased to, as I said, we're over 315 people strong. I think we're now 316 people strong with the hiring of Dr. Jim Rodrigue, who is one of the foremost researchers in the United States on organ donation. He's going to say a few words. Jim, great. Thanks so much. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Matt. I'm Jim Rodrigue with New England Donor Services. As Matt just mentioned, about 90% of people think organ donation is a good thing and would want to be an organ donor, but only about 50% sign up to be an organ donor. And I'm here to make a direct appeal to those individuals who want to be organ donors, but who have not yet registered. As was mentioned earlier by everybody who's been up here, there's a small chance, actually, that one would die an organ donor eligible death. However, signing up to be an organ donor gives hope and sharing of love to the people who are waiting, in some cases endlessly, for a much-needed transplant. Here in New Hampshire, we have 472 people who are waiting for the gift of life. And unfortunately, about 51 of them will die before their opportunity to receive a transplant. And so the goal in registering people is to give those individuals who are waiting, years in most cases, hope and the sharing of love and compassion by registering, a simple act, registering to be an organ donor. Whether or not there's a possibility that you may yourself one day become an organ donor. It's the act of registration that is the gift to those people who are waiting. Thanks to the great work of Matt Boger from New England Donor Services and our entire team, 157 people in New Hampshire received the gift of life, which is the uplifting part of the story. Having said that, more than double that number, nearly 300 people this year will be added to the waiting list. And so that waiting list keeps growing, and for us to give the gift of life, we need to register as organ donors. So thank you for considering this, and hope to see you at the DMV registering as an organ donor. Thank you.
Thanks, Jim. Always appreciate it, and glad you're a member of the team. The rest of the nation is envious of you joining our group, so thank you so much. We work to help educate the general public, to help educate the legislature, to help educate people in decision-making powers to understand what organ donation is. Again, it is not about losing life, it's about giving life. I do want to thank the U.S. senators here in New Hampshire, Sheehan and Hassan, who we've actually worked with when they were the governors. We are understanding that we need to do a better role of identifying who OPOs are. And again, our efforts, we are not the ones who transplant the organs. The hospitals and transplant programs are the ones who transplant the organs. And in fact, the individuals, sadly, who've passed away have been offered over 4 or 5 organs before they've passed away. We want to encourage hospitals to be as progressive as possible to help save someone else's life. Individuals' organs who may not be perfect are better than the ones of the failing individuals. Our objective is to save lives, period. So the sickest individuals, we want to get the transplants. I want to thank both Senator Sheehan and Senator Hassan for doing a wonderful job for the state of New Hampshire, for the country in fairly bizarre times, and to help shine light about organ donation and not encouraging people to become organ donors, but to register, and as Jim shared, to share that hope of life. Thank you so much for being here and saying a few words. If you guys both want to come up, that'd be great. Thank you.
I have a letter from Senator Hassan. She sends her regrets that she couldn't be here this morning. Dear friends, I'm sorry that I can't be with you today, but I join you in celebrating April as Organ Donation Month, both here in New Hampshire and across the country. Being an organ donor is a noble decision that can make a profound difference for someone in need, as those who are here this morning who have been touched by organ donation know incredibly well. I deeply appreciate the work that New England Donor Services does to raise awareness about the importance of organ donations, and I hope that Organ Donation Month serves as a reminder for all of us to redouble our efforts to make organ donation more accessible. In the Senate, I am working across party lines to get the Charlotte Woodward Organ Transplant Discrimination Prevention Act passed into law. This legislation would ensure that those in need of organs are not overlooked or denied because they have a disability. This is just one of the ways we can help more people get access to life-saving treatments. Thank you to everyone who's registered as an organ donor for your commitment to the health and well-being of your fellow Americans. And thank you to Mayor Rouet, New England Donor Services, and everyone who made today's event possible. I look forward to continuing to work together to improve the health of Granite Staters. With every good wish, Margaret Wood Hassan, United States Senator.
Thank you so much, and appreciate you being here and sharing that really wonderful, wonderful comments. And again, we are here to answer any questions and appreciate the wonderful work she's doing on the federal level to support this. It is a local, state, and national effort. Didn't know if you want to say a few words or just have a smiling face. Keep that smiling face. So, as the staffer for the senator said, President Biden has proclaimed April as Donate Life Month on April 1st. Governor Sununu also proclaimed April as Organ Donation Month, and now in Manchester, maybe most importantly, is following up with the two wonderful leaders, is celebrating April as Donate Life here in the city of Manchester. We choose April not by coincidence. April is a time of spring. April is a time of rejuvenation. April is a time where flowers start to bloom. Organ donation is providing that blooming hope of life through that transplant. Mayor, really wonderful to meet you, and looking forward to working with you in any ways. We're always accessible. I do have to quickly mention you've got fantastic staff. You know, wonderful leaders when they hire individuals, and I really appreciate McKenna's open channels of communication. But Mayor, thank you so much for being here. Appreciate that.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Matt, thank you so much for having me this morning, this profoundly moving event. You know, I think about this a lot, holding elected office, that storytelling is really a superpower. And like the ability to tell stories inspires hope. It inspires action. And I'm so moved by the stories that were shared this morning. You know, I say this about, my mom was a nurse for 40 years. And, you know, she said to me one time that she would meet thousands of patients and she wasn't sure if she made a difference. And I said, oh, well, of course you did. But the beauty of your story is that you never know how much of a difference you made because you touch lives every single day. And the power of your stories, you've obviously already made a difference in your own lives, but now the power of your story can change innumerable numbers of lives across the country. So thank you so much for being here with us this morning. I have a proclamation to read. Hopefully it passes muster.
Yeah.
You set me up. But
Artfully penned, I have no doubt.
City of Manchester, a resolution. Whereas there are more than 103,700 Americans with over 6,000 in New England currently awaiting life-saving organ transplants. And whereas there are over 1 million life-enhancing tissue transplants each year made possible by the generous donation of corneas, bone, skin, or other tissue. And whereas we can all help save someone's life and benefit up to 50 recipients by signing up to become an organ and tissue donor through the New Hampshire Donor Registry when applying or renewing our driver's licenses or IDs, or by registering online at registerme.org. And whereas 98% of all people in New Hampshire who register to become donors do so at the Division of Motor Vehicles, demonstrating our commitment to surpassing the national goal of signing up 50% of our driving population to become donors and making it fast and easy to sign up to save a life through our Division of Motor Vehicles. And whereas this observance pays tribute to organ and tissue donors and their families whose decision to donate life enables others to receive life-saving organs and tissues for transplant. Now, therefore, I, Jay Rouet, Mayor of Manchester, New Hampshire, do hereby proclaim April as Organ Donation Month and encourage all residents to register as an organ and tissue donor.
Thank you so much.
Great, thank you so much. I really appreciate it. Thank you. And lastly, Mayor, thank you so much for this wonderful honor and this recognition. And again, it is not a surprise at all after meeting you for 5 seconds while you are the mayor. May your tenure last eternity. I do, well, maybe that, well, we don't want despots, so whatever the electorate does. I do want to thank, these are wonderful stories, and your comments about storytelling in the real life indication of things is so important. A lot of people learn about organ donation, sadly, through, I say ER, although the TV show is not around anymore, but Grey's Anatomy. We want to be able to be open and transparent. If you have a question, let us know. Don't go online to find some sort of story that may or may not be true. Our objective is to save individuals' lives. Period. And lastly, I do want to thank the media for being here. There's a phrase, if a tree falls in the forest, does it make a sound? It does if there's someone to capture it. These are great stories. And like there's so much, if I can say, love and support here. It's how you get that out to the general public. And it's through your eyes and through your efforts that help do us. So greatly appreciate you guys being here. Great day. We've got 3 more days of this week, and it's a good way to start a Tuesday. So thanks, everyone, for being here. Appreciate that. We're going to do one more picture behind this. This is the best podium I've seen in my life. It's huge. So if everyone can step right up here. Mayor, if you stand this. Michelle right here. If you want to hold this up, your little, no, this is awesome. That was a great. Come on if you're taller. I am not taller. You got to be in here. Perfect. Jim, make sure if you can't see the camera can't see you. Awesome. Let's get a little closer. Perfect. I'm just going to move. Is this all right if I